Cincinnati fans have their pitchforks out online after the club falls behind 1 goal to Brandon Vazquez and then ties DC United. How dare the 2023 Supporter Shield winners not get 3 points every single match? The takes out there are heavy. I have seen one call for Noonan's firing. Thankfully, it was just one, and it was quickly drowned out by a little bit of reason. Success brings the expectations, though, and fans certainly have expectations in spades. We got a taste of that good life, and now we're craving it like the spicy chicken fad last summer. So what is an overreaction, and should we be generally concerned about what's going on with the team? The perks of this show being on Monday nights is we can kind of cool our jets, let a little bit of logic replace all that emotion before we get to the live microphone. Welcome into Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We have been here for your FCC fill since 2016. Glad to have you on board. We're going to introduce tonight's cast back for, I believe, is that the first time this season, Josh?
It is, yes. It's wonderful to be back. Got a new job that is eating up a lot of my time. I'm working more nights, so unfortunately I've not been able to join. But when the schedule pops up that says, "Oh, I can be live on CST tonight," I'm gonna bug those guys to put me on. So thank you for having me.
Thought you guys were all full-time soccer reporters. Come on, get in line. Just do it. There are plenty of street corners you can beg on and cover FC Cincinnati full time. The ever-present Justin Blair is back with us. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you guys? I'm literally just soaking in soccer like crazy right now. Champions Cup is winding down, at least the round of 16 is. And, some of the teams over in Europe that I follow have had some tough weekends. And so I need to pick me up this week. I need Pat Noonan and company to really bring it home this week.
Yeah, we appreciate you swooping in here. Brian Weigel, if you only watch this show for him, is sick tonight, I believe, with a huge fever. So we wish him the best and hope he can get back here soon. And, of course, Jeffrey Tebbets blessing us after some killer jersey swap episodes. Oh, my goodness, you've been pumping them out there, sir.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not the one that's sick this weekend. I think, Brian, 103.6 degrees. I didn't even realize that reaches the top of the thermometer that you stick in your mouth. So by all means, man, get yourself some rest. Go see a doctor if you even need to, man. I worry. But it's good to be with you guys. Busy week up in the box, busy week of 2 games and 2 episodes of Jersey Swap. If you guys haven't listened to them yet, we had the guys from Rayados 90 and also the guys from RFK Refugees. Planning to record one late this week when we talk with the guys at Revolution Recap for the New England game coming up, and still very busy, especially if we get on to the next round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yeah, we're going to dive all into it. Brandon Vazquez comes home. We thought, this is going to be a fiery one. And, I personally, I don't know how many of you out there play around with the whole sports betting scene. If you don't, good for you. I put $5 on Brandon scoring and Boop equalizing and FCC winning. That was a pretty good payout, but those last 2 things did not happen. But when Brandon scored as fast as he did, I was like, oh, no big deal. I'm already 1/3 of the way there. Good to go. Cincinnati Soccer Talk is brought to you in 2024 by Apollo Home. To kick off the 2024 season, they're offering a $24 heating tune-up of your HVAC system, plumbing evaluation, or an electrical safety evaluation. Give them a call or book online at apollohome.com. And thanks to them for sponsoring our show. Let's get into your best and worst. You guys got 2 games to pick from. I want to hear one awesome thing, one thing that was not so good. Justin, we will start with you if you're there. All right, we'll start with you, Josh.
Oh, good. My best of the week is the kids are all right. Pat Noonan seems to have loosened the leash a little bit, letting the kids get some run. Obviously, Malik Pinto being the first player off the bench, replacing Nwobodo, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But I was impressed with his play in that spot. It's a tough ask to replace one of the best defensive midfielders in the league, and I think he held his own a little bit already. You're still starting to see some growth. Obviously, Dado's getting some more run as well in the forward position, and then I'm going to even include Luca into that. Obviously, dealing with what he's been dealing with the passing of his father, but young players stepping into roles that is a lot for them, is a lot to ask of them, especially when we were so veteran driven last season. I think it's going to be a nice. It's nice to finally see these seeds starting to grow. And that leads into my worst is that you kind of need them to grow, as I mentioned. Obviously OB being hurt, and the congestion starting to wear on the bodies in this early season. The depth is getting tested real quick on this team, and so I think you're going to need these guys to step up, and you're going to need Pat to trust these kids to play and develop and continue pushing the tempo forward when needed to. I still would love to see some more Brett Halsey get some more run out there, but we can talk about more of that later. But so far, the future is looking brighter and brighter in FCC.
Yeah. Just a coach asked for the kids to be played a little bit more. I think he's getting his wish. When you get congestion like this, I don't think you have a choice. And so I don't know. I think we're at a crossroads is whether we want to see more kids or less kids, depending on who starts scoring up front, right? Jeff, we will turn it over to you.
I'll point out, really, just to add on to that last one about the kids. I mean, the one thing I think you really need to do, especially with the lack of offense, you need to see if Kimi can step up and start scoring some of his workload as well. He hasn't really shown himself since the Champions Cup, but he is still, I believe, a fixture in the future. We just have to figure out the offense around him. Going into mine's going to be more of an overall umbrella, mainly because I've been following a lot of MLS. So I'll start with the best. Right now, the East is devouring each other. I think a lot of us were worried, well, Miami's going to be really good and Columbus is really going to be really good, but they really haven't proven themselves to be invincible. Columbus has sort of tripped up a little bit with a draw along the way. They've looked good. Miami, they've looked great against Orlando, who I'm also lumping into this. But other than that, they lost to Montreal the other night, and they had a draw along the way as well. They don't look unbeatable. Maybe they look beatable without Messi, without Busquets on the pitch, but they don't look unbeatable. So I think right now we're still in a good spot. The bad news about that, my worst take, is that the teams that we're expecting to underperform are punching above their waist. Like Montreal is undefeated. They've done really well.
Yeah.
They've gone in, played really well against Orlando. They beat Miami on the road. And then you have the likes of DC and Toronto holding us scoreless at home. And then you have Charlotte, who's actually doing pretty well. They lost a tough game on the road at Toronto this past weekend. So, yes, the teams that were expected to perform really well are not. Look at New England, look at Orlando. But the teams that we expected to blow into the dust are starting to really show good performances early in the season.
Yeah, good points there. I'll get at my best and worst, and we'll give Justin a second to readjust here. Best, the sun side of the stadium wins again. For everybody that complains about the sun in the summer, it comes in very handy in February and March. Let me tell you, it was a joy to be. In fact, every single time the sun would go behind the clouds this weekend, on Sunday, you just heard the whole section go like, "Oh no, where are you at?" It was that weird temperature where it's fine if you're in it, but the moment it dips, it's too cold and you got to put your coat back on and buckle up. So that's my best of the weekend. The worst, the overreactions. Oh my goodness, I think we expect a lot out of this team, as I mentioned at the top of the show, but man, it was a lot of Acosta takes I thought were very surprising. We'll get into some stats later about Acosta and some of the other players, but some of us are also pitching a fit, and then there's a good number of people that are like, wait, this is not so bad for playing in 2 tournaments. And so I want to hear you guys' opinions on that. All right, Justin, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so my best was I got a chance to actually go down to the game, kind of put my fan hat on. I got to sit in the Bailey for the probably the first time I've ever bought a ticket at TQL Stadium for the Bailey. I had a blast. I went down. I got to see a lot of people that listen to our show and have contributed with us. Shout out to Maxwell, Tracy, Nate, and happy birthday to Sydney. It was a blast, man. I was yelling my lungs out. This is the Monterrey game, by the way. It was absolute pandemonium. We would like to see a win, like to see us score a goal, but I had a blast with the fans. And then the worst for me would be Obina going down with an injury. That he means so much to this team, particularly with the way we want to play this season. It really kind of was a gut check of like, oh crap, where are we going now? But yeah, that would be my worst.
From you guys, Casera saying, best Dado Valenzuela needs more minutes. It's doing great out there. Worst, of course, a lack of goals from our offense. Plus, Celentano needs to improve his feet and kicking. Clifford Adams, best team toughness and rotation. Worst, Cincinnati soccer fans are not supporting the free and independent press. I think he means as much as they should. I think that if you look at some of the patrons out there between Laurel and I think the Post even has one now. We have one. Cincinnati soccer fans definitely keep the free press up and running, so it's not just a club media source. We will touch on that as well later, Clifford. I think I know what you're talking about there. And Jay saying best Luca being back. Worst, the prawn eating side of the stadium is always empty. Those Jeff, you look confused. It's those luxury boxes, you know.
I get it right now. I got it.
It's your side of the stadium. You're in the press box. That's your side of the stadium.
I'm not the one who's eating caviar and sipping $20 shots of whiskey. It's not me.
Do they allow shots of whiskey up there where you and Justin hang out?
I'm pretty sure not. I mean, it would be a way to stay warm, I think, on some of the days when they pop open the windows, but no, not. I'm afraid not.
It would spice up the writing for sure.
There you go. Yeah, I think everybody would appreciate a little bit more loose whiskey writing until
it should be a requirement. You got to be 2 in before you can start writing, and then
all of a sudden we're out of the press box forever. Never invited back. All right, first up, Champions Cup. FC Cincinnati probably have the toughest draw of the round. Would you say that? I mean, they're playing the best team statistically of the last 5 years in CONCACAF.
I think you'd have some people argue that that's not true. They would say, "Oh, Inter Miami is the team that everybody sees as being a challenge," just because they've also had a bye going into this round, so they've had the most time to relax. Of course, they spend that time to go all the way to the Middle East and Asia for their preseason tour. So I don't know how much rest they actually have. But, I mean, you take a look at the team and they're prepared for it. So I'd say Miami is my best bet.
But if you, if you're an FC Cincinnati fan worried about our week, look at Miami. They drew Nashville, right? And then lost to Montreal. So their fans have got to be, if we're panicking, their fans really got to be panicking.
I think Cavalier and Monterrey kind of balanced out, right? It would have been disappointing to have a first round elimination like Vancouver had Tigres right off the bat. So I'm not complaining about our draw. I think Monterrey, it's a good challenge. I certainly don't want to be in Philadelphia's position playing Saprissa and then Pachuca right back to back. So I think I like our chances to get Monterrey.
I saw Miazga was talking some stuff before the game played, said that, Brandon Vazquez is his friend, but he's not even going to talk to him before the game, and he knows how he plays, and he's ready for it. Is there anything Matt could have done? Brandon Vazquez did his patented double step shot. I mean, if you played with the guy for years, shouldn't you see that coming?
I think they saw it coming, but the big problem with that goal, and I guess we're talking about the goal because
we're talking about the goal.
Even though Vazquez was given man of the match, he only played 58, 59 minutes. So he's been rested. He should be ready for Thursday. But the way that I looked at it, I saw the play unfold, and you could see Kubo hustling back, trying to get to his guy free on the box. So you knew that Kubo might have left his assignment a little too far to go upfield, and because of that, Murphy wasn't ready to fill in the spot, and that forced everybody to shuffle. And to be honest, it probably should have been saved. Celentano had a hand on it, and it trickled in after that. I think if he had gotten both hands or gotten all of his hand behind that one, it would have been knocked out. We might be going 0-0 into this.
I tried to give Celentano a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I mean, obviously that's a shot that he needs to save. But if you watch the replay back, the ball goes through Miazga's legs. Maybe he doesn't get the cleanest of looks at it coming at him. Again, the ball goes through him, so you want any keeper being strong-handed there and making sure it is. But I think it did kind of catch everybody off guard a little bit because the delivery wasn't great in there. Brandon Vazquez actually made a pretty good play to keep possession of that ball and reach and keep it away from Miazga, who recovered enough. But like I said, one of those shots that finds its way through the wickets and Celentano doesn't maybe see it right, and it comes in. I mean, we know how hard Brandon can hit it when he wants to hit it, and it just had a little bit too much on it. And credit to Brandon. He backed up what he said. He wasn't going to celebrate. He wasn't going to do anything. Talk about takes. I saw some takes spreading around about how the reaction to Brandon Vazquez should have been handled, but it was an interesting moment. It was one of those where I was out watching and just kind of like I shook my head and with the tiniest of smirks, like, all right, it's going to be fine. Like, because at that point I was confident they were going to come back because FC Cincinnati was the better team and should have gotten a result. And unfortunately they didn't, because once again, the striking woes bit.
Yeah, I even try to bring out some kryptonite to the match.
Is that what that is? That's funny.
And it didn't help. It just became my companion for the night. That was my date for the night. So, no, I completely missed the Vazquez goal. I was trying to get my friend some of those famous Cincinnati Skyline chili conies, and came back right in time for the crowd reaction. I was like, oh no, what happened? And then of course saw Vazquez getting celebrated. Yeah, it sucks that it had to be Vazquez in that situation. But yeah, I mean, we've seen it time after time with Vazquez. He's just so smart in the box, right? He's instinctual. Like I think it was Jeff that said it. It was not a good delivery into him. He was able to play back to it and get his leg around to be able to whip it into the back of the net. It would have been a little bit more of a pill that you could swallow if FC Cincinnati would have had an answer of their own. But, tip your cap to him. He meant a lot to this team.
Are you guys feeling more or less confident in the defense? I think the offense is easy to talk about, but you're talking about one on Brandon. That's the first goal and run of play, I believe, all year, counting every game played, including the international tournaments. And then 0 against DC. DC had the highest XG in the league, at least in the Eastern Conference, going into that match. I think they still left the match with the highest XG. So how are you feeling about the defense?
I feel pretty solid about the defense. Again, as I previously mentioned, without Obina and Nwobodo, that remains to be seen. We'll see how he can come back to training this week. But, I mean, I have not felt slightly concerned. I think there was some, oh crap, what's going on in that Cavalier and Toronto match. But since then, I think they've righted the ship. I think we really haven't even had to pay attention to them, even though we saw there was a lot of passes completed in our attacking third this past weekend. I think that we were able to put out the fire pretty comfortably.
I mean, yeah, Miles Robinson is worth the price of admission just to watch him recover and watch him dictate that pretty much that entire side of the field that he's on, because he's playing that right center back spot in our back five. He's going to be put on an island a lot. And I don't know, outside of Matt Miazga, I don't know if there's a better one you would want out there to be able to defend it. He covers so much ground and covers so much of the errors back there when Yedlin or whoever is over there gets caught too high, which is going to happen. That's what you want them to push, and you want them to be up there. The defense is what we as advertised. I mean, it's you coming into the season, you thought like, okay, if this on paper performs the way it's supposed to, this is going to be one of the best teams in MLS because you hope that offense hits the ground running. And then you got new pieces and you got whatever. And the worst case scenario is sort of this, where your offense is stagnant, but your defense is so stellar that you're not losing these games. You think back to last year where, I mean, we were winning games 1-0 at the beginning of the season. You've kind of regressed back to the mean a little bit, and now you're not struggling to win those results 1-0, but you're not giving up goals, and that tells you that your defense is everything that it's supposed to be. So as the defense keeps this up, and there's no reason to believe that it won't, because you've got depth there. You actually have Kip Keller has been stellar so far. Ian Murphy's continued his ascent into one of the most stable young center backs in the league, and you can rotate those guys in. And oh, by the way, you have Nick Haglund who can come in a pinch. Like, you don't have to rush him back, and he can come in, and hopefully he keeps his legs under him this year. But that's probably one of the best center back rooms in the league, if not the best center back room in the league. So,
yeah. Well, then we got to talk about DeAndre Yedlin, who's got his first appearance against Monterrey, and then we saw him again subbed in versus DC United. Overall, I think we saw some talent. Jeff, you haven't spoken a little bit.
Overall, I think we saw some talent because I think we saw what we're replacing. I know that Powell's been a really good fixture on our team, and he's been able to give you 60, 75 minutes. He's been able to fill in as sort of that switchblade in the back if you need a reserve center back. But in the game this weekend, I think we saw the reason that they brought in DeAndre Yedlin. Powell was trying to dribble up the field a little too much. And I think with Yedlin, you're getting someone who's a little bit more stout on defense, a little bit more able to communicate and deliver balls better. And he also doesn't try to play a hero ball. I think he is going to be a good replacement when we're starting him. I really think that if we had the opportunity to start him against DC, you would have seen perhaps a 1-0 or a 2-0 victory. But at the same time, I also think he pulled his weight, especially very short amount of turnover. He got right in there, and he was able to hang with the likes of Monterrey. I think Monterrey could have done more damage if that back line wasn't the way they were.
Yeah, I think that's really a theme. When your offense is struggling to get going and your midfield is having costly turnovers, and I think that's a problem. This squad has not gelled as fast as we all hoped they would. You get rid of Junior Moreno, you move Kubo out of there, you plug and play some of these younger pieces, and then Barrial's not there anymore, and all of a sudden, Lucho Acosta gets frustrated. He doesn't know who to get the ball to, and he gets the ball to Corey Baird. He's not doing anything with it. Lucho gets more frustrated, tries to dribble through people, and all that chaos that's happening in the middle of the field, which Pat Noonan will work out. I mean, this is the same coach you all believed in last year. Probably give the benefit of the doubt that this is all going to get sorted out, or if it doesn't, then something's going to happen in the summer window, right? Regardless, the defense has been like a rock for pretty much every game this season. And now we're going to get into one of those tricky questions, which is this over? Is it over for us going to Monterrey, needing at least one goal to push it into extra time, 2 goals to win it at their home base next to a mountain? If you haven't seen a picture of this stadium, go look it up. It's freaking gorgeous. Our players are probably going to get awestruck looking up and not like let a ball whiz by. But can we do it? Do you have any faith whatsoever? I kind of want to poll you guys.
I do. I think we're still in it with Monterrey. I think that there was some big news coming out last night that their 2 starting center backs are back. So that's not good when you're trying to find a goal. But I think the chances are there for us. It's just putting them away. I think we've seen some incredible saves as of late, including the Monterrey game. I think at some point we're going to see a couple of those go in the net. And then defensively, I think we had answers for Monterrey's attack. We faced everything they could throw at us. They had Vazquez, they had Badarami, they had their stellar 10. This is a team that can play against them, right? I trust if we have Ian Murphy back, which I think all indications are that he'll be back for that match, and then having, as we just previously mentioned, the defense playing that good. The question is, what are we going to do in the midfield? Is Pavel Vuka going to be able to contribute a little bit higher up the pitch? Is Lucho going to maintain a little bit of coolness and be able to see it out? I mean, there's really nothing to lose at this point. You're already facing it with the aggregate score 1-0. So you need to go after this one. So I think we might see the best of FC Cincinnati in an early preview.
I think there's a few intangibles that you're working with here. I think Hector Moreno went down early in our home half of the legs and had to be replaced by Rodrigo Aguirre. And unfortunately, Aguirre got a red card in that game as well. So you're down two of the people in the same spot. That might be a little sign of weakness. But the other intangible that I think you got to think of is Monterrey's up in the mountains. You're not going to be playing at sea level or lower elevations. You're going to have to get used to that location, and you're going to have rabid fans. You're going to have people that are expecting a win. Monterrey hasn't lost at home at all this season. So I want to be positive, but I'm looking at a lot of the negatives that are staring me in the face and trying to sort of show what the reality of the situation is.
That's a good point.
That's a great point, Jeff. I hadn't even factored in the elevation, and obviously you're playing in one of the premier places in CONCACAF in our region, so it was always going to be tough no matter what the elevation was. But I think you got a puncher's chance. I mean, I don't think you're not facing 3-0 down, 2-0 down even. And like we just showed, like, you proved that you could go toe to toe with them. And there was one moment that you would want to have back. And unfortunately, that moment was the deciding factor. And that's what happens when you have two heavyweights fight. Like, they come down to margins. And the way that this attack has built moments in these games so far, including MLS games, tells me that they can go. They can produce. The final touch just isn't there, which is gonna happen. The numbers say that it's going to happen at some point. Will that happen this week? Will it happen at Monterrey? You want to hope that it can. I don't think you necessarily have to move with the sense of urgency that others might think. You want to, come in, get a goal right away, and then it's an even game. It's like you can try to take your time as much as you can. You have that defense. The absence of Nwobodo is going to be so huge, as Justin just mentioned. Like, what does that do to Pavel Buka's role? What does that do, assuming Malik Pinto is going to start, or maybe it's Yuya Kubo? Like, are you going to hold your midfield back to try to maintain some more of that possession that they've struggled to do so far? I think is going to be interesting. And, if you come in, you go down 1 goal quickly, then maybe Pat Noonan changes his mind, changes his tactics, and said, all right, well, this is cut bait, and let's play some kids, and let's get some minutes. But I don't think there's any reason why you can't go into this game and say, let's keep composure and calmness for 30 minutes, and then figure out what the scenario is, because I didn't see anything from the first leg that said that we can't hang with them.
Yeah, we definitely hung with them. And to Justin's point earlier, we arguably played better than them, except for the whole ball going in the net thing, which is kind of important in the game of soccer. I get where you guys are going. I like where your head's at. You're all optimists. You all believe. I am not. I am not a believer. I don't think you go into Mexico and get crushed.
One of the hard things about this is that you're going to be going up against a goalkeeper that's got confidence. Esteban Andrada had four saves against us. Just this weekend, he had 6 saves in a win over Mazatlan. He's playing with a lot of confidence. And if you have an offense that's struggling to score, a hot goaltender is just going to make it even harder.
If we're going to do it, we're going to have to do it fast and open it up. before they really know it hits them, because I think the later that game gets, I honestly think they're going to start off defensive, even though they're in their home stadium. But because they got nothing, they're up a goal. They got nothing else to. Why throw all your bodies forward and risk it? They don't need to. Just play some solid defense if you're Monterrey, and make a team that has struggled to score goals this year prove it. And if I was coaching Monterrey, that would be my 100% philosophy, and I think it's got a really good chance of working. Monterrey in a shell versus FC Cincinnati's lackluster attack and Corey Baird. I don't know.
I mean,
Lackluster on the goal scoring department. I mean, how many times in 2021, 2022 did we scream about not having those chances in the box? And now we get those chances in the box. We're not putting them away yet, but this attack has created lots of chances. I can't say it enough. So I like our chances in Monterrey. I think we're going to go down there. It definitely stir the water a little bit, but we'll see.
Now, if we get to overtime, I'm gonna be as hyped as the rest of you guys and jumping up and down. But what I said overtime. Are you cringing over that?
If we get to overtime, it's going to feel just like the losses we had against Inter Miami in the Open Cup. I don't want to be in overtime. I want this thing to be 2-0, 3-1. Let's go home and smash and grab this thing.
We know it's extra time for those of you screaming into your car radios right now.
If you're on the East Coast, keeping track, that would put us around like 2 in the morning, 2:30 a.m. So you sure you want extra time?
Oh yeah, the game is at like 11.
At 10:15. We got a 10:15 kickoff, boys.
Yeah.
I gotta write the article afterwards, so this is gonna be fun.
Justin, I'm off on Friday, so I'll be up and I'll have my 2-drink minimum ready to go. So if you need some quotes,
I'm doing it.
Give me a call.
All right, before we get back into the rest of the show, let's give a shout out to Beyond Exercise, a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps anyone get active and stay active. They've helped Nick Haglin, Brandon Vazquez with their physical therapy. Maybe I should leave his name off this week. They've only helped Nick Haglin with his strength training needs during the offseason. Ask the fellas at Beyond Exercise about the ACL injury prevention screening, which was piloted with Nick. Learn more at gobeyondexercise.com. Appreciate that, guys. I've seen some awesome comments here in the chat. One thing, there are actually questions rolling in, and so I want to get to a couple of them. Jose was asking earlier about Noonan subs. I actually had this thought as well, especially in this DC game, which we're going to talk about next. Is Noonan's sub pattern off? Does Noonan not trust his own depth yet? Or is he just playing 2 tournaments and trying to be tactful there? Because it did feel like, I mean, I was sitting there with you, Jose, in the stadium playing fan coach from my seats going, why are we not bringing on some faster guys right now? Why is Powell still in this game? I would have liked to seen halftime subs at that. Am I crazy? Am I the only one here thinking this? No, I'm not. Jose is. But what do you guys think?
I'm not thinking about the sub pattern as much as I just want them to start. I want the younger guys to start in a game against DC United at home without Benteke. Just play the young guys. You're already in between matches in CONCACAF Champions Cup. What is 1 point gonna do for you? You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, it's at best you get 3 points, at worst you get 0 points, and it's a very young season, 3 games in. Just play the young guys at that point. Let them get some run out. We saw what they could do. Unless you didn't want guys to have a little bit of slip of performance, but that's not a reality because I mean it's between 7 days between these 2 Monterrey matches. So just play the young guys at that point. We don't have any 2-team matches. Just go for it. That's me blowing steam.
I see arguments for playing the young guys, but at the same time, I think you want to see what maybe your first sub, your second sub players can do. And that means the likes of, Kip Keller, likes of Powell, the likes of, Santos, to see what they can do in a starting role against a team like DC, to give them confidence when they come off the bench. It is, I can't say too much for the sub patterns, but it's just something you have to work through right now. They tried to rotate as much as they could with DC, and still just couldn't put anything through the wickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I earlier is I think the answer to at least my answer for Jose's question of I think he's making the right moves. I think we all just want to see him happen sooner. I mean, like we said, like Justin said, these are kids. Like, it's not like you're bringing on guys who are a little bit, wearing and whatever, and you want to see a real jolt at the end of the game. It's like, no, these kids can run, like, and they have confidence. Like, Dado had one of the best opportunities in that DC United game that and that link up play was perfect, and then he just had a go at it and nearly curled it into the far post. And so, like, these kids are here, ready to play, ready to go. I think, have shown so far that they can run toe to toe with some of these MLS guys, and I like the idea of bringing that energy off the bench. I just want to see him sooner, especially with the congestion. Give some of these other guys a break. If your plan is to bring DeAndre Yedlin in at the 70th minute, why not throw Brett Halsey out there for some time? Let him, especially when you have Miles, like I brought it up earlier, and I'll keep hitting it. When you have a guy like Miles Robinson out there to cover your ground, you have a little bit of leeway to make some mistakes. And I think having someone like Brett Halsey play in that matchup next to somebody like Miles Robinson can only help him understand better positioning, better communication. Like, utilize this time where you have these young guys playing next to these stalwart veterans who can bail them out of situations when they make the inevitable mistake. I don't see why we can't have our cake and eat it too with our stellar center backs playing and getting these young guys some opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you guys are shooting lots of comments at us. We'll keep them coming. We appreciate it. Looks like Subject Zero joining us from looks like Helldivers. So I just wanted to say to you, every bullet fired is a freedom seed planted in the hearts of our enemies. That's all I'll say about that. All right. Oriano is back, so that is pretty cool from him. And then also Pinto came in for Obi, and I thought he played great, guys. And in fact, he played so well that obviously you can't replace Obi, but if Obi's out for a couple weeks, well, he has a leg, how do you say, contusion, is that how you say?
Leg contusion. That's what Noonan had said, at least at the post-game conference.
Yeah. So if he's out for a couple weeks, then we need to we need backup. And I think you got two options. You got Kubo and you got Pinto. Anybody else?
I think it's going to have to be Pinto really right now. Kubo, you just took out of the wingback positions, and really when he was brought on last season, he was normally the substitute for Moreno. So I think the possibility would be that you save Kubo for subbing out Buka when he needs a spell. So I would roll with Pinto. I think Pinto's shown that he can do it early this season. He ran 60 minutes out there. Give it to him. I think he was, out of all the youngsters that we brought in last year, I think he was the first one who's given the keys to being a sub off the bench. Halsey came in later on, and then they tried Kimi, but he had injury issues. Same thing with Jimenez. Dado was there for a cup of coffee. So roll with Pinto. He's shown that he can be your dependable guy off the bench.
Yeah, I was incredible. Like I reiterating what I said at the top of the show. Like, the kids was very impressed with, especially Malik Pinto's play. That's a tough ask, like I said, to replace Obi Nwobodo, and he went 60 minutes and he didn't make any glaring mistakes. So there's obviously some nervy moments that you're going to get from him because he's young, but I think he held his own. I think he's earned that spot to give it the full go, and that keeps you the opportunity to bring in Yuya Kubo literally almost anywhere on the field when you need him to. There's a versatility there that you want to be able to bring in off the bench when you need some energy, whether it's defensively or offensively. And so, yeah, Malik Pinto's performance has been stellar, and if he becomes the true replacement there, I think they've hit another home run.
I think if we keep talking about Malik Pinto, Justin Hoyt is going to fly back to Cincinnati just to shove it in everybody's faces. If you guys haven't heard Talking Tactics with Coach Gall over on the podcasting or on our website, Justin Hoyt, former FCC player, he's been pumping up Malik Pinto, and you could see why. I mean, the kid plays phenomenal. I thought he was the most solid, like Jeff said, the most solid, dependable player that we brought off the bench from the younger group.
Speaking of Coach, let's throw it to him. He's got a preview of his show coming up this week, and I think he's going to talk to us a little bit about what he thinks about this past week.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into Coach's Tactical Takeaway for Week 3, a segment where I'm going to come in each week and talk to you about something tactically that's on my mind. And this week, it is FC Cincinnati's attacking third game plan. When they can't get a shot in transition, what do they try to do with the ball to generate those chances? Typically, what they do is they get the ball wide. They create some sort of an overload, usually with Lucho Acosta, a wing back, maybe a forward or another midfielder. And then they try to get one of those players dribbling the ball from a wide position at or through zone 14. Now, zone 14 is the area right above the top of the penalty area there where the D comes through it, where most chances are generated in soccer. The ball starts there, touches there at some point, leading to most chances in world soccer. So FC Cincinnati's plan is usually to try to get Lucho doing this, but it could be another player. They combine, they get him running, and then they always have a forward in what I will call the target position, posted up at the center backs right at the top of the 18. So the option there would be to either shoot from distance, to play it into that target forward and try to create from there, or to use that target forward, pinning that center back as a stationary spot to draw attention, to then look to pick out another player darting in behind the back line. Now, the problem here is right now they are almost always playing it into the target forward and trying to combine off of that. And I don't know exactly why this is. Is it because Lucho Acosta is generally the guy doing it and he favors little combination plays? But how often have we seen a guy like Aaron Bupenza or Corey Baird receive the ball back to goal right at the top of the box there and then trying to flick a one-touch pass back into Lucho Acosta through traffic, and it just isn't working? Why do I think they keep picking this option? Two reasons. Number one, there's a reluctance to shoot from distance. I think for Lucho, this is because he would much rather take players on in the dribble. I think for other players, it's because when they shoot from distance, they get an earful from an Aaron Bupenza or a Lucho Acosta for not giving them the ball. We saw Dado Valenzuela in his short time on the pitch against DC United hit a shot from distance, and it tested the goalkeeper, and it made the goalkeeper come up yelling, "Step to the ball." If the defense has to step to the ball, worried about a shot, that loosens things up for those runs in behind. Now, that's the second problem we have here is those runs in behind are not good enough. They're not crisp enough. Now, Corey Baird's movement is not nearly as good as Brandon Vazquez's, but that's a high bar. Bupenza is a little bit better at this, but Sergio Santos's movement in and around the box is basically non-existent. So when Baird and Santos pair up together, those little darting runs, curling from inside to out, darting at a diagonal behind the back line so Lucho can try to get creative and pick out a little pass there, simply aren't happening. Therefore, the only option is to play it into that target forward, run off of him, and hope for the best. And at this point, this team just isn't gelling. There's so many times where that pass is just a little bit off. They try to play it in, it's a step away. The flick back to Lucho or the other player just isn't quite good enough. That said, I think that we all need to calm down a little bit about this lack of scoring. This team is 7th in shots and shots on target per 90, 7th in all of MLS. This team is 7th in shot creating actions per 90 and 12th in non-penalty expected goals per 90. This offense is not stuttering or sputtering. They simply aren't finishing the chances that they are getting, and that should come with time. But all in all, I'm going to be watching to see, can they get away from always playing that combination to that target striker and instead to see if we can get Baird, Santos, Bupenza, these other guys making good runs in and around the box to loosen things up. That's it for Coach's Tactical Takeaway for Week 3. If you want to get more content like this, make sure you get subscribed to Talking Tactics with Coach Goff, where Justin Hoyt and I will be breaking down this DC United match and every match each week. Get it wherever you get your podcast today.
Big thanks to Brad, Coach Goff, I guess I should say, breaking down some of those comments we had. And he gets into kind of what I really wanted to talk about at the top of the show, which is who's right here. Is FC Cincinnati statistically okay because they seem to be on paper, or Or is this just a sign of things to come? Are the fans right? Is there weakness? Are we not there? Are we falling apart at the seams? I don't know which it is. Actually,
I'm trying to be positive a little bit because, I look back at the past, and back in 2018, we set all these records with USL and absolutely tearing up the competition. But early in the season, we did not look great. We had just 1-0 wins on the road before we came home, and we looked flat against Lou City. And that's exactly what this game reminded me of. It reminded me that, we were firing everything on it, but the last thing was not going in. The last shot was not going in. And then it took us a few more games to get it under our belt. And by then we were firing at will. We were scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game if we had to. So I'm not concerned. I think if you're out of the tournament and you're starting to play teams like New England and Charlotte and not performing up to the speed that you should be at, then that's all I can say. Then you should be worried. But for right now, this is just 2018 all over again.
All right, Justin, you got anything to add?
No, I think Jeff and Coach said it best there. I think we are in good position. I think we're doing the right things to score goals. Now it's just time to put it in the net.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of an overreaction this week, but I get it. I mean, a part of me thinks it's just that we were so freaking good. And this is a little bit of the thing you have to accept with Major League Soccer is that there's this insane roster turnover. If you have a really good team, well, guess what? You're going to have 1 or 2 guys that go, you know what? I'm good enough to go to Europe, or I'm good enough to go here now. And then you end up, in our case, dropping 2 players that were a big part of the reason you're successful last year. So a really good MLS team is one that can continuously find and adapt and retool this talent. And it doesn't always instantly happen. We talk about Seattle a lot on this show, but you look at Portland over the long haul, and teams that are able to always really put it together and have good coaching and a good GM. And I think you got it there as far as what we have. So I think that's any other DC United stuff before we turn the page and get into just random MLS stuff.
I'll say one thing. The guy that really impressed me during that game was Kip Keller. You took a look at the man of the match they gave to Salentano. My vote was Kip Keller. He looked really good in terms of the aerial duels. I believe he won 10 out of 12 aerial duels. He was sort of the man, with the plan when it came to, getting these challenges in the air. He was reversing the field quite a bit. I liked his performance. It gives me a lot of confidence in this defense. If the likes of one of our Redwoods goes down for a few games or gets suspended for any reason, then I think Kip Keller comes in and plays a really good defensive ball.
Yeah, and don't forget Nick Haglund too. I mean, this is 180 from where we were just a few months ago when we were looking at Haglund being down and Matt Miazga being suspended. This is great to see these center backs create so much depth.
Yeah, and that's another reason MLS changing pretty dramatically year to year. FC Cincinnati, strongest position on the team, center back. And you wouldn't have thought that a while ago. All right, let's give a big shout out to those who support us on Patreon. Red Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Bradley Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts. Flip the page here. And then we will get to Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Fight, Christina Sharma, Kyle Pol, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorp, Jason who is super at average, Ryan Ernst, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Stepps, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, David Wiederhold, Rob Cassell, Brad Weigel, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Dirk and Bart Labita, Rob Trappell, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Marine de Murray, Jose, John Caffardi, Justin Blair, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Mark, Andrew Klippinger, Justin Gregory, Scott Dalton, Jeff Tebbets, The Troll, Jackson Fight, Matt Bauer, Pete, not Alan Koch, Mark Godsey, Todd Sheehanbach, and Eric Johnson. Thanks again for your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And speaking of support, there's all kinds of interesting stories out there in MLS this week. First off, the big news that broke a couple days ago, we would be remiss if we didn't at least talk about it. Laurel Pfahler, well-known, well-regarded reporter of FC Cincinnati, getting a 2-week suspension of her credentials. And we kind of just really wanted to talk about the need for independent media. We are independent media, but we do not do the every single day practice in and out that a Laurel Pfahler or Pat Brennan do. Unfortunately for us, those type of jobs take severe dedication, lack of revenue, and in your guys' case, you guys support someone like Laurel Pfahler, and she's able to financially support herself and able to cover the team full time. I think there's a lot of people who dream about something like that, and she was able to make it happen. So great for her. And it's unfortunate she's going to just be out of the picture for 2 weeks. We do support her, and I think we put out a little thing on Twitter a couple days ago. I think for us, the biggest thing and the most important thing, regardless of what wasn't done, usually in cases like this, the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, the club has come to us with issues in the past as we've made missteps. We're a bunch of young podcasters that are trying to do our best out there, and every once in a while you make a misstep and you get a hand slap, and that's all right. In fact, we usually want to know about those things so we know not to do them again. I'm not sure, just like you're not, what happened there. Our main point is that the credentials is a serious thing, and it's something you trade. You know, she can't be a fan. You guys, when you're both in the box, you can't be a fan. You have to be a true professional. You have to sit up there. There's no cheering. There's no whatever. And then not only that, there's a professional dignity and media standards you guys exchange in exchange for that. And then it helps us give access and stories to you guys that listen to the show. And so credentials are pretty serious for reporters. It is their livelihood, and it is something that you hope doesn't get revoked for any reason, no matter how short it is. So regardless of what went down, we think revoking credentials is a pretty serious thing to pull or to use. And so we hope that gets resolved shortly. And I think all media will feel a lot better if we don't feel like our credentials can be revoked at any point in time. And that's really the overall worry. I think that if you're other media and you're looking at this is, well, if we misstep, if we missay something, are we in trouble? Do we lose 2 weeks? Am I going to lose 2 weeks of credentials for talking about this on the show right now? That's kind of the thing no media wants to be feeling like, I guess. And so if you support Laurel, we would encourage you to do so. She's got excellent coverage of the team. Not a rival in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. We've always been here since the beginning, and there's plenty of people that give her a shout and also listen to our show. All right. On other news, the MLS referee union is still locked out. We're not going to dwell on this either, but it's important to bring up because I saw a news report today that the two sides are not even talking yet. So, I mean, that could always flip on again. But overall, the replacement refs, I think, are doing a decent job for what they have to do. I hope an agreement comes to place.
It's a tough call because I feel, I mean, one of the plays that I think was a little bit more egregious this weekend was at the end of the first half. It looked like the ball went out, and it looked like it went off of a DC United player. So everyone was thinking corner kick, but the whistle was never blown. So a lot of us was sort of scratching our heads. And as much as I want to say, oh, it's the replacement refs, it's the scabs, I don't think that would have been made the correct call with the professional referees anyways. And that's the difficulty that we have, is that were the referees that great to begin with? Were they, replaceable? And that's the conundrum I'm in, is if you had your professional referees there, would we be seeing the difference? And from the naked eye, it's hard to tell right now.
I think I've said it on here before. I don't want this to be resolved for our current pro referees, to be honest with you. I just want there to be a better incentive so we can have better referees in North America. I think we've struggled with that for quite some time, and people make mistakes, right? These guys are, again, like public knowledge now. They're not paid well, they're not compensated well. They're trying their best. For the large part, they're the consummate professionals, but there are bad seeds, and you would like to see it be a more lucrative position to where somebody could say, hey, I really like soccer. I really would love to be an official. That's a viable option. I'm going to go into that. So I would like to see it resolved just purely for that standpoint. But I like Jeff said, I don't think very many referees can make the right calls that we're seeing some of these flubs early in the season.
So your take is if the money gets better, we get better quality.
For the most part, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's not always linear like that, but at least incentivizes people that are curious or want to go into it. It becomes an option now instead of it being like, 60,000 a year. I'm gonna go into business or get my MBA or something.
Yeah. That's what a lot of us did. We went into business. But Justin, I think they still have to train, and they got to get past you. When they're roughing their kid, and you're screaming at them.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be one of those dads that's way off to the side because I have to be. No, I know what it's like. I reffed college or not college basketball, but high school basketball for a little while, and I know that it can be kind of a bear, but it takes a unique individual, right? Somebody that just enjoys the game and enjoys getting the call to make sure that you don't want to get in a position where it becomes all about them and marketing themselves and stuff. So that there has to be a comfort level of pay and compensation and attention given to them.
All right, fair enough. In other news, Paul Walters, and if you don't follow Justin, or CST sometimes puts it out with Justin, Justin always does a great job of sharing where former FC Cincinnati players are playing, how you can watch them on TV. I've actually used that tweet myself to figure out what to watch, so I appreciate it. You put out that Paul Walters was playing in the USL for Hartford Athletic, so those who tuned in got to see a pretty cool clean sheet as he did not allow any goals against. So FCC loan down in the USL currently.
And Joey Acosta got some minutes too there at the end.
Oh, he did get subbed in?
Yeah, it was a late sub, but it's good to see him. Those two connecting in Hartford, Connecticut.
Don't remember Hartford, the second home of Sem DeVitt when he left FCC. That was the first team he joined.
That's correct. Yeah, I think we got a small connection there or something. Anybody tune into U.S. Women's National Team Gold Cup the other night? Pretty cool win for them. They barely got through the terrible rain game versus Canada. Some people think shouldn't have ever been played.
It feels unfair because they played that game, and then a few days later in Philadelphia, there was a deluge, and they postponed that one. I'm like, I know it's a tournament, but you got to figure out some protocol here.
Mm-hmm. Women's soccer's catching on. We got a message on our Twitter account DMs today from somebody who's looking at playing every single NWSL match that their bar is on Friday nights. And so if that ends up coming to fruition, we'll pump that out there and let everybody know. Pretty cool Friday night, I think, to go watch NWSL locally. And I think that's the first time I've seen it committed where you're going to have a women's soccer bar that you can depend on. So exciting, I think. Hopefully that comes together fully. Let's get your final thoughts, and we will get out of here early this week since we went out super late last week. Never mind. We're right on time. But we'll throw it to you first, Justin.
Yeah, so I'm so ecstatic that we're in CONCACAF Champions Cup. I really don't want the ride to end here, but if it does, I think it's important that we've kind of staked our claim in this thing, and then hopefully we can come at it maybe with some unique perspectives on how we should manage our lineups, or perhaps maybe we don't get the draw of the best team in North America this time.
All right. Next up, Josh.
Yeah, thanks again for letting me come on. I mean, it's tricky these days, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying. A lot of us do this for fun, and we love doing it. We all have day jobs, and we all do these things. So, support everyone out there, all your local media. FC Cincinnati has such a unique landscape of coverage that most MLS teams don't have. I mean, you'd be lucky to get one reporter. We have a bevy of fan accounts. We have Pat Brennan and Laurel Failer doing the professional work, and these guys mostly. But no, we have an incredible group of fans and professionals covering this team like no other MLS team is. So I just want to thank you guys. Thank all the coverage out there that we get, that we're so lucky to have. And I will officially put my name in as the Paul Walters, Joey Acapone coverage person, since Hartford Athletic plays about 20 minutes from where I live. So
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So got to watch that game. My friends who I work with asked me about Paul Walters. Gave them a quick little plug to CST, but also gave them a short little spiel. And I think I gained 8 or 10 Hartford Athletic followers from that. So
nice.
Hey, sometimes you just accidentally things fall into your lap and you become a very specific expert on one thing. So
yeah, you better watch out. You're gonna have your own supporter group pretty soon up there.
Hey, that'll be the Hartford Athletic Cincinnati. I mean, this is like you said, this is the third one. We're halfway there. So
it could be.
I'm about to be a liaison.
You could be Auxilia too.
Walker. Oh no, so can you do a pun off Walker's? Gary Walker's. I don't know. What's Walkers are like a zombie. You could go with like a zombie theme.
Walters, Boston, not Walkers.
No, man, never mind.
Boston.
Who is Walker? Is he like a coach?
Walker Zimmerman.
Kenny Walker.
I heard he has a son.
Kenny Walker. This show's derailing.
I get 2 final thoughts tonight. Sorry to jump in here, Jeff.
Before Jeff gets 1.
Yeah.
Jeff gets 0 now.
Check out my guys' bonus podcast, The Jersey Swap. Best listen, in my opinion, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're going to listen to it. It is amazing what Jeff does over there. Sitting down with the opposition to be able to discuss the opponents. It's how I prepare for some matches, particularly in MLS. I watch a lot of MLS, but it's really awesome to get it from a perspective of a fan. So shout out to you, Jeff.
No, man, you're making me blush. I know this is a video podcast right now, but you're making me blush. If I could take it, I will take my last thought. I know that we're talking about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but let's not forget that once this round is over, we have another thing opening up. The U.S. Open Cup is coming back. Come on, guys. I know that everybody feels like, oh, it's it's injured, it's walking, wounded. Who knows what type of format it's going to be in the future? But if there's a way that you can leash yourself to a team and support them, they would appreciate it. I think yourself as a competitor of the true sport, you would appreciate it. I know that FC Cincinnati is not in it. Big deal. Go and support a team. This guy over here likes Lexington. I like the Vermont Green. I think they're going to wipe out Lexington SC in the first round. So
no way.
Lexington on the road is not very good, my friend. It's not this week, but next week is the first round. Check out some of these games and, support a team. It doesn't really matter what team at this moment. I don't even care if it's another MLS squad, but support somebody and let's keep this tournament alive and kicking. Yeah.
Lots of things going on. I appreciate you guys shouting them all out. I think FC Cincinnati's got a special community. One, because we were talking about the local reporter thing earlier. We are one of the unique clubs that still has many sources of places to go, many podcasts to listen to, a lot of fan engagement, And so if you're a FCC fan, you can almost get from Monday to Saturday or Sunday, the game time, and listen to we put out 3 podcasts, and then there's like several others that are out there. You could listen to one a day. And I know some of you do because you're crazy sickos, but like you can get all the way to the weekend with new audio content. And there are a whole bunch of clubs out there that maybe get one. And they wish they had a lot more. And Jeff does a great job of finding those around the league. And a lot of those clubs, at least when I was doing that show, Jeff, they would tell me like, oh, you guys, it's really cool what you guys have going here. We got a lot of credit. Other people in the league recognize it. So I don't want to see us lose that. Our club's always provided great access, and hopefully just a small blip on the radar, and we can continue all of that going forward. So big shout out to everyone who stayed tuned tonight. Looked like a pretty good crowd here in the audience. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you again next week.